Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the number one daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Bowe with another edition of Mavs Moneyball After Dark, coming to you with the victorious edition. Mavericks throttle the Phoenix Suns, the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, entering this Monday night matchup 130-111. It is the Mavericks' second consecutive win after a blowout win against the Knicks on Saturday. It is a bunch of firsts. It's the first time the Mavericks have won back-to-back games this season by double digits. It's the first time Luka Doncic has played under 30 minutes in back-to-back games this season. In fact, the New York Knicks game was the first time he was under 30 minutes all season. So not only the first time back-to-back, that's just the first two times, period, this season, as he's had quite the workload so far this season. As you can tell, since it's just me, Josh Bowe, on this pod, I'm not with our editor-in-chief, Kirk Henderson. He had a business trip. He was on a plane this evening. He'll be back sometime tomorrow, and I think he'll be available for post-game stuff, so he'll probably be doing at least a Spotify Live tomorrow night. But tonight you just got me. We tried to get another staffer on, had some technical difficulties, so why not just quickly get something out there for you guys to listen to, and we can kind of get my thoughts on the game. And really, I mean, my thoughts are this felt remarkably similar to the Knicks game. I mean, the Mavericks just came out with a good sense of purpose, a good energy level. They jumped on a very tired Suns team. This was their third game in 4 nights, second night of a back-to-back. I'm really tired of when that gets brought up as people thinking that's like a backhanded compliment. And like, let's be honest, the NBA season is long. There's teams go through lots of injuries. No one is at 100%. Once the first couple days of the season have started, everyone's tired at certain points. Travel is taxing. These games come and during a normal season, these games are compacted into a relatively dense schedule. So like this happens to every team. Like not every team is going to be able to have 100% energy level for 82 nights. Like it's just unreasonable. Like the Suns were a tired team. That was just a factual thing. And the Mavericks have been tired. Certainly had some tired nights so far this season. It's just what happens. It's part of the league. It's just you just have to deal with it, whether you're playing against the team or it's happening to you. And the thing is, the Mavericks don't necessarily get guaranteed a win just because the Suns were a tired team. They still have to take advantage of the opportunity, and they did. And that's a credit to the Mavericks, credit to the coaching staff for getting the team well prepared, and credit to the guys that played really well tonight. Again, Tim Hardaway Jr., massive game, 5 3-pointers, 5 of 9 from 3, 17 points. He is on an absolute tear since he entered the starting lineup a couple games ago. He has now made 5 or more 3-pointers in 4 straight games, 5 against Golden State, 6 against the Pistons, 8 against the Knicks, 5 against the Suns. Easily his best 4-game stretch since dating back to the last Rick Carlisle season, because, it seems like a long time ago, but before Tim got hurt, he was playing really poorly. This is easily the best he's looked since Jason Kidd has took over. Kind of feels similar to when he got off to the really good start when he first arrived here. He started in a game, I want to say it was also against Golden State. And he just never lost the starting job. He just entered the starting lineup a couple seasons ago, and he just took off, had 2 career seasons back to back. I can't help but wonder if that's what it's going to be this time again. He looks absolutely fantastic. He's been the volume 3-point shooter this roster is desperately needed, and it's coincided nicely with Luka Doncic also being really good from 3, which he hadn't been, the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season. So good to see those two. I mean, I said this in my preview. Those 2 guys are the 2 biggest volume 3-point shot takers on the roster by far. And if they're on a hot streak from 3, the Mavericks are in a good shape, are in a good place, because Max Kleber shoots 3s, Reggie Bullock shoots 3s, Dorian Finney-Smith shoots 3s, but they're taking between 3 to 5 a game. Hardaway and Doncic are taking between 8 and 10. So if those 2 guys are hitting, things look really good. And again, the 3-pointers, 20 of 41 as a team, 49%. It's really funny. They made 24 of 61 against the Knicks, and it looked like an avalanche. They almost set a franchise record. And they come back and they quietly, hit 23s again on 60 less attempts. I mean, they were absolutely on fire. The Mavericks had 5 players hit 2 or more 3-pointers besides Luka and besides Tim Hardaway. It was Spencer Dinwiddie, Christian Wood, and Maxi Kleber. Kleber's been on a nice little streak from 3 as well. He's had a couple good games back to back. Wood returned after missing the Knicks game with an illness, and I thought this was a really, really encouraging game from Wood. He had kind of struggled going into that game against the Knicks that he missed, and the way that that Knicks game was so impressive, it was easily the Mavericks' most impressive effort in weeks, because the Mavericks have obviously been in a little bit of a slide. I mean, the Mavericks looked so good on Saturday that I almost had to wonder, is there something to Wood not playing in this game? And there's been, looking at the numbers, like, even though there's a lot of good advanced data with him on the floor with Luka, there's also some data showing, when he plays a smaller role, when he plays under 30 minutes or like under 25 minutes, the Mavericks actually are better than when he plays, bigger minutes in terms of win-loss record. So, obviously it was a 1-game sample, so it wasn't anything to write home about, but it was just, tucked it behind in the back of my brain just to be like, okay, so if he plays against the Suns, what's it going to look like? And, thankfully it looked good. 27 minutes, he had 18 points, 9 rebounds. He had 5 assists. He had 6 turnovers, unfortunately. That's just kind of going to be his deal. He had 4 fouls. But he played within himself defensively. He made his open shots, got to the rim, made his free throws. Can't ask for anything more, really, from him this game. Player of the game, I know might seem crazy on a night when Luka Doncic had 33 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists on 12 of 20 shooting. Might be Josh Green. Another spectacular game, 16 points, 6 of 7 shooting from the floor, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Had another crazy spinning pass to the baseline. Had another really good kind of no look to Tim Hardaway Jr. in the corner that if you blinked, you probably thought Luka threw it. At this point, I'm just kind of, Josh Green is good. Like I'm done waiting for the bubble to pop, so to speak. He's just a good player, good quality player off the bench. Now, that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to do what he did against the Suns every night. game against New York, he didn't have his best effort, didn't play particularly well against the Pistons. He had 4 fouls in 15 minutes. But he's popping for some games here. Like, he's had this game against the Suns where it felt like his energy off the bench single-handedly busted this game open. He had a steal in the backcourt for a dunk in the process of the Mavericks' first half run where they were just blowing this game apart, and it was close to a 26-point lead at half. He had the game-changing impact in his 27 minutes in that win against Golden State. Obviously had that career-high 23-point night against Denver on November 20th. So it's just nice. And I know, people are going to see this and start thinking some crazy thoughts probably and run with it, but that's okay. They're fans. He's probably going to have another, if he plays, the Mavericks play tomorrow night, if he has, 6 points in 21 minutes, that's not necessarily disappointment. Like, he's still coming along, and seeing these types of games is really, really nice. He's becoming a really critical part of this rotation, and it's been really nice to see him make an impact without making a bunch of threes, which has kind of been the theme for him this season. I mean, he's obviously had some really big splashy 3-point shooting games. I mean, he's still shooting, close to 46% from 3. He was only 1 of 2. He was 1 of 4 against the Knicks. So, he's going to, I don't think Josh Green is a 46, 48% 3-point shooter, which is what he's been for the first month and a half of the season. But, if he gets down back to, 40, 38, 39%, if that's where he ends up, he's still making plays. Like, he's passing the ball really well. He has 10 assists in his last 2 games. He's scoring the ball at the rim exceptionally well, and that's honestly the biggest thing for him this season. He is one of the few guys. He basically is the only other guy on this roster besides Luka and Dinwiddie and Wood that will drive to the basket, and it's so plainly obvious to see when he gets in the game compared to, a Reggie Bullock or a Tim Hardaway or Dorian Finney-Smith. He just has a fearless ambition to attack the basket, and it's wonderful to see, and it really opens things up because, Luka is just attracting so much space. It's pretty ridiculous. Teams are running out of ways to defend him. They're sending doubles. Sometimes they're sticking home at shooters and letting him go to work at the paint because they just don't want him finding a bunch of shooters and have like an avalanche effect where the team gets hot from 3. They're just doing all sorts of stuff. And because of that, guys are going to have opportunities outside the 3-point line, not just to shoot, but to create. They're going to be catching the ball with the defense rotating and shifting over. And like NBA 101, you got to be able to attack those closeouts. And Green has excelled at that. He's been so good at attacking closeouts and not just scoring at the rim, but just keeping the offense moving, not letting the ball stick, not letting the offense stick. And again, no turnovers tonight, 5 assists, no turnovers. Only had 2 turnovers in his last 3 games, which is really, really nice to see. I know turnovers were an issue for him a little bit earlier in the season. So it's really nice to see him, control the ball well, despite the fact that he has a flair for some really, really, really dramatic passes. Another game where the Mavericks defense played well, although they're definitely getting some 3-point shot variance help. The Suns and the Knicks were just dreadful from 3. Not to say that the Mavericks didn't defend them well, but guys are missing some open looks. The thing that's been nice the last 2 games is the Mavericks have really cleaned up the dribble penetration. And if teams are going to get open looks from 3, they're going to make or miss them. That's out of their control to some degree. But they could control guys getting into the paint and blowing by them and getting to the rim, which was a huge issue in the games leading up to that Knicks game. So 2 games in a row that I think they've done a fairly decent job protecting the paint. The Suns did outscore them in the paint, I believe 46-42, but it just felt like a much more manageable number than what it had been in the previous games before the Knicks games, where teams were getting like 30, 40 shots at the rim, which is just untenable. You just can't win games consistently doing that. So, man, it's just an all-around really, really, really good win. Devin Booker was 4 of 13 from the floor. I think the Mavericks did a tremendous job on him, especially without Chris Paul, who's been out for a while with a heel injury. Booker has basically been their de facto point guard. I know Campaign is their starting point guard, but the offense runs through Booker. So good job on containing him. They sent a lot of doubles, and Booker had 5 assists. Probably should have had more, but the Mavericks just didn't let him get comfortable, and that's a big thing for scorers that are as good as Booker. Um, I think the big thing is these 2 wins. I don't know, are the Mavericks back? I don't know. It feels like they are. Boy, these last 3 years, it feels like is there some like legal contractual obligation for them to just play like absolute dog water for 20 to 30 games to start the season, and then after that, it's just like, okay, we're gonna play like a 60-win team now. I don't know if that's happening again, but that happened last season, happened the season before. They were 9-14 at one point 2 seasons ago. They were 16-18 last season at their the deepest they were into the season under 500. They were 10-11 this season. Now they're 12-11. So back up above 500. We'll see if they can stay above there. So maybe they're turning this season around a little bit earlier than the last 2 seasons, which would certainly be nice. It is absolutely bizarre though how they just can't seem to get off to a good start, but we'll see what happens. The schedule is, again, getting tough. I mean, but this was why this is such a huge win, because the schedule is not getting any easier. They play tomorrow night at Denver. That's a really tough back-to-back. Flying into Denver to play a late game. Late for us, but flying up to Denver, high altitude. Then they got to come back home, play Milwaukee. So these next 2 games will be a challenge. If the Mavericks can split them, that would be huge. If they lose both, I don't think that's... I mean, they'll be back under 500 again, which will be disappointing, but then they've got Chicago, Oklahoma City to hopefully right the ship, so we'll see. But I don't know. I mean, it's just nice to see the team play really competent basketball, and the crazy thing is there's still room to go. I was hopeful Reggie Bullock hit 3 3-pointers against the Knicks on Saturday, hoping that the December switch for his career had started. He was 0 for 2. He scored 0 points in 25 minutes. He did play much, much better defense, though, so that's good. And the Mavericks really need Bullock to be a good defender, even if he's not making his shots. Dorian Finney-Smith also played some good defense, but again, you haven't felt like the announcers have called his name much, and it's because he hasn't done too much statistically. Again, I think his defense has been really good the last 2 games, but he is 2 of 11 from the floor, and in the last 2 games, he scored total 6 points. Hasn't hit double figures since the Bucks game, where he scored 13, but that was on November 27th, so it's been a little disappointing because Boston, Toronto, Milwaukee, he had 3 really nice games consecutively. His shooting has still been off, but he was, getting some assists, scoring some buckets, cutting to the rim, doing some stuff to at least score some points, while his 3-point shot is kind of MIA. He hasn't done that the last couple games. We'll see. This team needs Dorian. He's averaging under 9 points a game this season after he had kind of steadily risen his points per game average, from 7 to 9.5 to 9.8 to 11 last season, which career high. This team really needs Dorian to be a multi-point. They really need him to get to that 10 to 11 range most nights. I mean, you've seen the numbers. Their record when he scores double figures is really good, and when he scores like 15 or more, I mean, they're almost like unbeatable. He just needs to make some shots. He's getting some pretty good looks. He's just missing them, especially those above the break threes. He is having a rough time there. Otherwise, pretty much everyone else contributed. Spencer Dinwiddie was 5 of 15 from the floor for 21 points. And you'd be like, oh, not great, but he was 5 of 8 from 3. I mean, he is scorching from the corners. I was looking at his data a couple of weeks ago, and I think he was 62% on corner threes, and that was like a week or 2 ago, and I'm pretty sure that hasn't dropped too much since then. Like, he might still be close to 60% on corner threes on a healthy number of attempts per game. Like, that's absurd at this point in the season. We'll see how, if he can keep that up, but the shot looks great, man. His form looks great. He's so confident when he gets the ball. We're going to close things out. Don't want to talk too much just by myself. I'm sure you guys are already making fun of me for trying to stifle back yawns as I'm trying to pull double duty with Kirk out and get stories edited and things like that. But of course, we got to talk about Jaden Hardy. Officially, box score lists him as 2 minutes. The official NBA, that's the ESPN box score. Official NBA box score says he played 2 minutes and 25 seconds. In those 2 minutes and 25 seconds, he scored 10 points on 5 shots. Had 2 and 1s, made the free throws each time. It was really, really cool to see. Hardy finally is getting some burn after his really, really impressive run in the G League for the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, the Mavericks have had 2 blowout wins in the last 2 games, and he's played a combined 9 minutes. And considering the fact that neither of these games were close in the second half, it was a double-digit lead for the Mavericks from the third quarter. You know, when they took the lead in the third quarter to the end of the fourth, it was the Sun. They had a 26-point lead to start the third quarter tonight against the Suns. It never got below 16. It was right around 20 for the majority of the fourth quarter. Would have been nice to see Hardy maybe get a little bit more burn. I mean, that's like the one thing you can maybe critique. Otherwise, things have been good. But man, this game, I mean, it was already starting to feel like Free Roddy B, which was, good Lord, it was over 10 years ago. The Free Roddy B movement with Rodrigo Bowe as a rookie on that 2009-2010 Mavericks team. And the clamoring for him from the fan base every single night. It was deafening. I mean, they made Mike Fisher, DallasBasketball.com made T-shirts that ended up being kind of questionable. If you want to Google what those T-shirts look like, definitely did not hold up well. But it was a movement, and people wanted to see Roddy, and people wanted to see Jaden before these last 2 games, and he scored 15 points in 9 minutes. So with a team that can be as offensively challenged at times as the Mavericks, those calls are only going to get greater. Thankfully, Tim Hardaway Jr. is playing better. So the Mavericks aren't necessarily desperate for him to make real contributions. Me personally, you know, they should find him. If he's up with the team and he's not with the Texas Legends, if he's not playing with the G League, if he's with the active roster, they need to find him some minutes, something, even if it's something like tonight where he gets 2 minutes at the end of the game. Obviously that's going to dictate whether it's a clutch game or not. He's probably not ready to play in meaningful basketball yet, at least from the coaching standpoint, but I just want him to play. He was so rough against the G League last season, coming out of high school, that I know he's lit up the G League in the games he's played this season, but it really, I mean, that's just progress right there. Even if he doesn't do anything else in the regular season for the Mavericks, just the fact that he is taking care of business in the G League is a huge step up for him. I just want him to play. If he's not going to play, make sure he's with the Legends. Play as many games as he can play in the G League. When the Legends aren't playing, send him back with the Mavericks if possible. That's kind of my goal for Jaden Hardy. Anything else is a bonus. And I mean, but if he keeps, if he scores 10 points every 2 minutes, he gets into games during garbage time. I mean, that might force the issue a little bit. We'll see. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Again, really, really fantastic win. The Suns entered tonight, topping the Western Conference. Mavericks take their record down to 16-8. Mavericks are now 12-11. They are 1 game above 500 once again. Tough test, though, tomorrow. They play the Denver Nuggets on the second night of back-to-back, and then they play the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday. So we'll see how that goes. For Mavs Moneyball for the site, go check it out. We've got recap. We'll have stats. We'll have everything you need. Hopefully, my partner in crime, Kirk Henderson, will be back tomorrow night. I'll definitely be here tomorrow night. But you're listening to Mavs Moneyball After Dark. Again, Dallas Mavericks destroy, dismantle, dominate the Phoenix Suns 130-111. Mavericks push their record again above 500 to 12-11. Play Denver Nuggets tomorrow night, and we'll talk to you then.